Bring it back.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at Project Cars 2. So this is the second game from Mad Dog Studios, and for those of you who don't know, it's a really detailed racing sim. It's over 180 different cars and around 60 circuits with around 130 different configurations. It's got a huge career mode, which is a massive upgrade from the first Project Cars, full online multiplayer, and they've even introduced an esports element for those of you who are a bit competitive. So let's get straight into graphics and compare this to this and the previous version of the game. So graphically, Project Cars series has never been a slouch. The original Project Cars 1 was always renowned for having really high quality graphics, and the same is true for this second instalment of the series. They've really gone to town on some really detailed little features. You know, if you just look at the windscreen and the rain in the clip behind you, I think it's just really amazing the way the windscreen wipers interact with it. It just produces a really nice effect, and even though it's not important to the an integral part of the game, it just adds to the immersion of this game, and the graphics really are just something to behold. I'm playing this on PC. I'll post the specs of my computer in the comments below, in the description below. There has been some reports I've heard on PlayStation and Xbox of some shadow problems with some flickering in and out as the systems struggle a little bit to play some of the games, much like I'm struggling to play the game in this clip here. But I'm no racing sim expert. But generally on PC I found the graphics to be brilliant. I've not found any bugs or anything like that, and they really are just something to behold. In terms of audio, the game is really sort of created quite a dynamic set of sounds. They're quite a lot improved over the first Project Cars, I feel. The cars sound absolutely amazing. They've got a really deep sort of dynamic tone, as you can hear here from this BMW. Although you'll soon find this is only a short clip because I'm shortly about to crash and I didn't want you to see that. I mean, even things like that where I just ran into the back of that car there, you get that real sort of crunching of metal, folding, that snapping, that damaging of parts. And that's something that you really don't see in other games, or hear in other games, in terms of sound. And it's just something that's really awesome about the game. There's also a lot of small subtle sounds. When you're going slower, you can hear like the little squeak from the windscreen wipers in the wet when they first turn on, and that just all adds to the immersion and the detailed feel of the game, which is why one of the reasons I think I've been really enjoying this game so far. There's also a lot of settings you can fiddle with, and a huge choice of race options. You've got quick play, just custom races. You've also got the huge career, which is a massive improvement from Project Cars 1. Then in terms of changes in options, you've got all the usual graphical options. You can set up keyboard, your wheel like I'm using, or a gamepad, all of which can be used in the game and fully customized. So in terms of customization, you've got things like controller sensitivity, steering wheel sensitivity, and then you can adjust all the force feedback settings. So you've got a really wide range of how stiff in terms of gain and volume, and sort of feedback you get from your wheel or gamepad. So perhaps the biggest improvement over Project Cars 1 is the game physics and the way the cars just handle. In Project Cars 1, some of the oversteer and understeer sort of characteristics were pretty wooden. It felt like you were driving a box of polygons with some wheels on it. In this game, it really doesn't. They really integrate a lot more feel of the car and a lot more responsiveness and a lot more subtle features. When you start to corner hard, you can feel the grip in the tyres through the wheel. You can almost feel the tyre walls flexing, and and that really adds something to the game. And as you see here, you see the physics when you completely take a corner way too fast. And that really adds a dynamic feel to the game. It's something that was really lacking in the first Project Cars, that they've really got developed down quite well. I still can't drive, and I'll still crash all the time, as you're seeing in this clip, but I can feel the crashing coming just before it happens. And that's something that's really quite hard to create, and something that you don't really see in many of the games. Anything like R-Factor 2 does it quite well as well. So another aspect of the physics is the race engineer. So if you're not that familiar with setting up a car, you can actually talk to your engineer and it'll take you through a series of settings. So in this case I was talking about gearing, although I'm set at the highest final drive ratio, and it gives you different options. So instead of having to set everything manually, you can talk through and you can deal with your problems. Although if you're more experienced with your cars, you can still set everything up through a series of figures and numbers, which I don't claim to understand in the slightest. So another interesting aspect of the game is the dynamic weather. So the team at Project Cars, they've developed what they call Live Tracks 3.0. Don't ask me what happened to 1.0 and 2.0, I have absolutely no idea. But this is the idea of this evolving and dynamic weather setup. So as you can see in the clip behind you, so this is set up just in light rain. I started the race in light rain, but in longer and endurance races you can get changing weather, and it's not just sunny and then it stops and then it rains like many traditional racing games used to have. It's an evolving weather. Water will puddle at the lowest points in the track and start to form areas of puddles. So if you stray off the racing line, or you forget to sort of learn where these puddles are developing, then as soon as you hit one of them, you're just going to aquaplane and skid straight off the track into the barriers, like I almost just did there. And then as the rain stops in longer endurance races, if it turns to sun, then you'll start to slowly get a dry line forming. Or if you're out in the sun and it starts to rain and you're on slicks, you'll be able to deal with that for a couple of laps if you've still got the residual heat in your tyres and it takes a little bit of time for the track to get soaked through. But over those course of that laps, the grip you'll have in those slicks will just be deteriorating and deteriorating. So rather than it just switching from sun to instant rain like a lot of games do, and that's really what they've built up in this dynamic weather, and it's something really good. It works really well and it adds a lot to the game, particularly on sort of the endurance races. As I say, on sort of the quick races or the short sort of couple of lap races, it's not something that's so important because they often pick the weather from the start of the circuit. Also in quick races you can basically make up entirely sort of what weather you like. I did have a play around earlier where I was driving around the Nürburgring in heavy snow. So really you can pick and choose whatever you want. So what about the career mode? It is very much more fleshed out compared to the first Project Cars. There actually is a lot of choices to go through. It's ranked into 6 tiers. You're allowed to start in the first 3 or 4. And you can pick where you start, so you can start down in the bottom in like the Ginettas or the karting series and work your way up sort of progressively. So if you select a series, like I just selected the Ginetta series here, it gives you the dates of the upcoming races and things to unlock. You can unlock the second championship, and then when you go forwards you're allowed to select your team and who you want to race for. You'll also get other things like manufacturers races sporadically throughout the season, so it isn't just all just doing race after race after race. It's broken up by more interesting events, and once you've raced for a team for a certain length of time, you'll unlock more championships once you've sort of proved your worth and increased your prestige. Although, given that, I think it might be a bit of work for me to improve my prestige. I think I need to be able to learn to not drive into everyone first. So, how do the AI behave? They're pretty reasonable. They're not actually perfect. They do sort of tend to suffer sort of a bit of what's sort of known as first corneritis, where everyone just sort of piles into each other in the first corner. But they're not as much of a cause of that as I am of doing that, so it's not really a problem. As the clip we've just seen, it was me who ploughed into the back of everyone on the first corner, not the AI. But as soon as they clear that first corner, they really do tend to spread out, and they really do race competitively. Once you got them on, if you got them on a good difficulty, they really do capitalise on your mistakes, and they do work to avoid you. If you force the issue round the line on the corner, they will give you room. They won't just cause a crash just for the sake of it. So in terms of tracks, as I mentioned earlier, the game's got in and around 60 tracks, of which they've managed to produce around 130 configurations. So there really is a huge range of choice when it comes to where you want to drive, from sort of pretty minor tracks you can find sort of around England, like the one at the moment at Cadwell Park, up to the big famous tracks like Imola, and all there's about 20 or 30 of those tracks here are new compared to the first Project Cars, and they've all been laser scanned in, so they are really accurate, and any of the old ones have been drone scanned, so they really are sort of dead spot on tracks, and they've been really well modelled. And as I said earlier, with the graphics being so good, they do produce sort of a really nice feel and effect. In terms of sort of racing rules and regulations, they've generally been fairly well implemented. They tend to have been better implemented on things like the touring cars and the endurance racing. If you try some of the open cockpit stuff like the Formula A and the Formula X, there's some silly little features that don't seem to have been picked up on, like you can use DRS at any time. In real Formula 1 you have to be within 2 seconds of the car in front of you to take advantage of it. In this the race leader can use it, which kind of defeats the point of it. So it's that sort of thing, the little silly things like that, which I don't know quite why they've implemented, and maybe that's something that they'll change going forwards in some patches. Oops, I'm off the track there. But it really is sort of a very good game, and that I've really enjoyed playing. I can highly recommend that everyone tries it out. It is rather expensive on Steam, so it may be worth waiting for it to come on sale. But it really is an immersive racing simulator, and I'll definitely plan to do more videos on it going forwards. I also plan on doing a video of my steering wheel setup with my Logitech G29 and shifter, so you can see that. I'm going to do sort of a short review on that, and for future videos I might try and set up a camera so you can see sort of my hand actions as I'm driving. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's not perfect, my editing skills are sort of lack a little bit desired to some of the larger YouTubers, but we'll get there and hopefully I'll improve going forwards. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, it really helps the channel out. Thanks guys, we'll see you on the next one.